Welcome to the Colliers Conversation Series. My name is Tyler Dolan, Managing Director of Vancouver Island and the Okanagan. With COVID changing our lives in so many different ways, we thought we would take a moment to film a few segments to share with you what's happening here on Vancouver Island. Today with me for this segment, I have Graham Smith, a retail specialist. Hi Graham, how are you today?
Thanks Tyler, good to be here.
So retail is probably the most fascinating segment of the market right now with COVID and everything we've seen. We know it's been tough for a lot of people. What are you seeing in the retail market?
Well, we just finished our survey and I'd say overall the retail numbers are surprisingly good. Downtown vacancy did double from 3.1% to 6%, but when you look at 6%, it's actually a really solid number. We've been higher before, and given we're in a pandemic, that's quite a good number. Shopping center vacancy went from 5% to 5.8%. Once again, not a big uptick in vacancy, and overall a pretty low number.
So downtown vacancy has gone up, but how is downtown holding up? Specifically offices. People are working from home. That must have an effect.
Certainly the economic impact of the lack of office workers and the lack of tourists has been noticed downtown, and it has been a struggle for many retailers and restaurateurs in the core. Thankfully, we've had the subsidies, and they have allowed a lot of these retailers and restaurateurs to hang on.
So the restaurant industry must be a fascinating one. Have they been seeing some relief just given people's buying patterns are changed and there's delivery now?
Restaurants, it's really a varied response to the pandemic. Certain restaurants are doing quite well. If you had a delivery model, you're probably doing very well because there is a lot of takeout and delivery in the market. If you're a restaurant that has focused on the downtown business population, coffee shops, lunchtime places, you're probably struggling. And you probably will continue to struggle until we get the office population back. Downtown casual dining restaurants, it's been interesting. A lot of them, even though they're operating at a reduced capacity and reduced hours, their average check size is dramatically higher. So many of them, when you couple in the subsidies with those larger check sizes, are actually doing surprisingly well given the circumstances.
That's good to hear that there are, some optimism in the market here. How about on the tourism side? Are we seeing the doldrums completely, or?
We certainly saw a significant drop in the number of tourists coming to Victoria in 2020. Tourism obviously was not coming off the cruise ships like we're used to. But what's important to know is the cruise ship tourist would typically come off the cruise, hop on a bus, land on Government Street, pick up something inexpensive, back on the bus, Butchart Gardens, back to the ship. We did still have tourism to Victoria last summer. There were a lot of Lower Mainland weekenders that came over, and there were Canadians from other parts of the country that decided to come and visit as well. And what was interesting was those tourists spent dramatically differently actually than the cruise ship tourists. They spent more time in Victoria, and they were really looking to buy something special, and they spent. So a lot of their purchases were larger, more expensive purchases. So retailers that were able to pivot away from the less expensive items to a more catered approach to that tourist were generally pleasantly surprised.
That's terrific to hear that there's still some resiliency in the market, albeit it's a bit more tempered. How about shopping centers?
Certainly anything to do with the grocery sector has done well. They seem to be up around 20% year over year. That 20% is largely at the expense of the restaurant industry where people just are not eating out as much. Anything to do with interior mall is a little bit uncertain at the moment. Certainly the online shopping comes and impacts that whole sector. So although we haven't seen a lot of vacancy in the interior malls, they were challenged somewhat with their retailers coming into COVID, and those challenges have continued and will continue coming out of COVID.
So the big elephant in the room here, Graham, is how do we come out of this?
Well, the trick, Tyler, is how do you balance the end of the subsidies from the government with the uptick in economic performance on a local level. And when you think of the federal government trying to plan for this across the country, it's going to be hard to have every market in step with every other, in step with the reduction in subsidies. So I will say this, I feel that we are going to pop out of this quite quickly once we're allowed to travel, once we're allowed to gather. I think there's a pent-up demand from people to be out and about. So I think we should in our market see quite a quick turnaround, but we have to make sure that turnaround happens before the subsidies are pulled back.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, could be the roaring 20s again. Vaccines out, people are happy, people are outside, they can congregate anything. People want entertainment.
Absolutely they do. I think there's a real pent-up demand.
So thank you, Graham, for your time today. This has been terrific. I'd like to also thank all of you for joining us here today. If you require any additional information, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or any other Colliers professional. We're definitely here to help. You can also visit the Colliers Canada website, where you will find additional videos, up-to-date market research, and information on other services we have to offer. Thanks again for your time, and all the best.